And I remember being a senior guy on a team telling the newer guys, check it out. If the fight comes, we're equipped to handle it. And handle it we will. However, we're not going out and prematurely chasing targets and chasing dots just to get into a firefight. What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about the top 3 differences between brand new Green Berets and more senior Green Berets. Why am I sharing this with you? Well, I'm sharing it with you because I'm hoping that you can bypass a couple of steps and get right to the point where you're acting as a senior Green Berets in your decision making, not only for your career, but for your family and also for your financials. Let's jump right into it, guys. The number one difference between new Green Berets and senior Green Berets is our thirst for war. Now, keep in mind, I got to the regiment when I was 25 years old, and all I wanted at that point was revenge from 9/11, from losing buddies in Big Army before I went to selection. So I wanted combat. I was chasing it. I was looking forward to it. And just like that, it came. And when it came, it was literally hell on earth. Now, granted, it takes a special kind of person to enjoy it, to envy it, to live in it, to want it. However, the cost of combat is something that preys on your soul. And as a new guy, I didn't know that. I didn't know what to expect. Years later, after losing several friends, after battling PTSD, after battling depression, I'm like, holy shit, was it really worth it? And it's an important message because brand new guys, they crave it, they chase it, they go looking for it. And I remember being a senior guy on a team telling the newer guys, check it out. If the fight comes, we're equipped to handle it. And handle it we will. However, we're not going out and prematurely chasing targets and chasing dots just to create a firefight, just to get into a firefight. Because a lot of the guys that are craving it, that are wanting it, that are chasing it, when it shows up and it's nothing like they expected, those are the type of guys that tend to crumble, to run away. So as a new guy, I urge you to be 400% prepared for the firefight if it shows up. However, be okay with it never showing up. Be okay with not experiencing it. Once you accept those two different dynamics, you'll have a peace of mind and you'll be able to think clearly. And when your leaders are doing dumb shit that can lead to guys getting killed, you can be like, wait, why are we doing this? Are we doing this just because we're chasing targets because we want to get in a fight? Or are we doing this because it makes sense? Classic case of this, guys, was the Tongo incident where those guys were pushed to go conduct an operation that they weren't ready for because of Lord knows what. So that's the biggest difference. Newer Green Berets want and chase war. More senior guys are laid back and they're like, you know what? I'm not chasing it. If it comes, it comes, right? Now, number 2, as far as the biggest difference between newer Green Berets and the more senior Green Berets are, your newer Green Berets tend to hold their tongue when it's time to speak, even if they know what they have to say is very valuable. Now, granted, you have your new guy phase that you have to go through. But once you're out of that new guy phase, I encourage you to speak up, to be part of the team, to voice your opinion, even if it seems like it's out of place, because that's why you're there. As a Green Beret, you're selected because of your unconventional way of thinking. If you don't share that with your teammates and your leaders, then what good are you? I was a victim of this myself, right? Even after I got out of my new guy stage, I was on such a senior team. When planning was going on, when decisions were being made, I still felt like a new guy for at least 2 or 3 years after I came out of that probationary state. And it's because the other guys were so senior and so experienced that I didn't feel like I had anything to bring to the table. It wasn't until much later on that I realized, oh shit, I could have said X, Y, and Z and affected this. I should have done this and affected that. A lot of you guys going in, yeah, you don't have the military experience side of things. However, you're still a smart dude. You guys had careers in the civilian sector before you came in. So I urge you to voice your opinion, guys. That is probably one of the biggest mistakes I made as an SF guy, was not being as as boisterous as I could have been when it came to certain topics because I was timid of, oh man, these guys have 8 years, 9 years, when in reality, they needed a fresh set of eyes. So I urge you as a newer guy to voice your opinion. It is needed, all right? Last but not least, as far as the biggest difference between newer Green Berets and older Green Berets is newer Green Berets don't think that this shit's gonna end, all right? However, senior Green Berets, once you get past 6 or 7 years on the team, you're like, oh, this shit's gonna end eventually. However, as a senior Green Berets, had I started taking some of the steps that I started taking when I was senior during my junior years, I would have been light years ahead of the power curve in certain areas to include getting ready to retire physically and mentally. All right. This one haunts all of us because since we don't think it's going to end, we don't document all the injuries. We don't document all the explosions. We don't go and talk to the site. We wait till years later on when we're, a year or 2 years out from getting out to try to backtrack all of that shit and make sure that it's properly documented. VA doesn't care, right? Had I known what I know now, I would have started doing all of that stuff ahead of time, right? Another one is finances. It wasn't until I was 34 did I realize, holy shit, I'm going to get out the military one day. And when I do, what am I going to do? Am I going to get stuck in that system of rinse and repeat, take off one uniform for the other? Or am I going to do something different? When I realized it at 34, I started putting all the right things in place to make sure when I retired 6 years later, I had everything in place, right? And that's exactly what happened. Had I known when I was newer to group that, hey, you should be doing X, Y, and Z to make sure you're able to retire 10, 15 years down the road, guys, I would have been fucking a millionaire 20 times over right now, right? However, it took me a while to mature to that point. So as a newer Green Beret, guys, I'm here to tell you that it will end. Start putting all those mechanisms in place to make sure once you retire, you're good to go, all right? This segment is brought to you by the Elite Academy Patreon page. There you'll be able to find my new ebook, The Green Beret Guide, and I also have my daily workouts being posted on there, along with several different ruck plans that you can use to help you train so you can attend and get selected. The link to the Patreon will be in the description down below, guys. Let's get back to the episode. Another area in which newer Green Berets seem to think differently in, as opposed to senior Green Berets, is their family and their relationship. As a new Green Beret, guys, I was victim of this. I thought that I had to give everything to the regiment and ignore family and just focus on the job, right? I would be away. I wouldn't call home. I wouldn't do any of that. As a senior guy, I realized that that wasn't the right thing to do, right? That's why a lot of guys in group have divorces. They tend to neglect A and pour all into Z, as opposed to making sure their attention is evenly divided. When they're home, they need to be home. When they're away, they need to be away. However, don't forget about the house. As a newer guy, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the mission. You're thinking about impressing everybody. You're thinking about, building a reputation for yourself while you're ignoring your family unit, which leads to divorces. Right? As a senior guy, I'm telling you right now, you can do both. The sooner you learn how to do that, the better off your family unit would be. Right? Guys, let me know what you think as far as the biggest difference between newer Green Berets and more senior Green Berets. This was just 3 things that I could think of, but I know there's more out there. So if you don't mind, share with me. Appreciate you guys watching this. And until next time, take care of yourselves.